My name is William S. Harris. I go by Bill, and I have been practicing law here in Tarrant County for 40 years. Yes, there are rules and limits on using a firearm in self-defense. That's the whole thing about self-defense. Self-defense is a very qualified right. Uh, you, you, we could spend all day on all the limitations and the situations. And there's also the fact that if you believe you're acting in self-defense, doesn't necessarily follow that everybody else will believe that. An example would be a case I had a long time ago. A client who was claiming self-defense. He didn't shoot anybody, but he pointed his gun at somebody, which is aggravated assault, and threatened them with it. Now, he was on his property, and he was facing somebody that had come to his house. But in that particular case, he gets up and testifies that he wasn't afraid of him. And it was very evident from the way the evidence had come down that his whole animus toward the person that was there was because he was of a different race. And it was a racial motivation. Okay, that was never even submitted to the jury as self-defense because he wasn't defending anything. He was pointing his gun at somebody he didn't like because of the color of their skin. So that's a practical limitation. If you're in a situation where somebody is coming into your, say somebody is coming into your house because it's your neighbor and he's drunk, and you realize who it is, realize that this guy wouldn't hurt a fly, he's drunk, and it's sufficient for you to push him back out the door, and that's force, that's using force against him. You don't need to shoot him. And in that situation, you wouldn't be justified in using deadly force. Now, of course, we look at it from your perspective. Did you know that? Was this just a silhouette coming through the door, or was this John, your neighbor next door, who you know has a tendency to drink a little bit to excess and then do stupid things? But he's never dangerous, you know. So it all depends subjectively on what's going on in your mind when you confront the situation. That's a great practical limitation on it. You do still have a duty to retreat if you're not in one of those protected places. If you're walking across the parking lot downtown and some guy approaches you and starts demanding money, then you do have a duty to retreat if you can do so safely before using deadly force. Okay? If you back up and he backs you up against a car and you can't, let's say he's got a knife, you can't turn your back on him without the danger of being seriously hurt, then you've retreated as far as you need to, and you may use deadly force in that circumstance and claim self-defense. But again, it has to be a claim that is ultimately accepted by the jury. To this extent, when this goes to trial, it is not ever the defendant's duty to prove anything. It is the state's duty to prove that you're guilty of the offense, and if you raise self-defense, they must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that what you did was not in self-defense. You cannot provoke the difficulty. You cannot go over to your neighbor John's house, who now instead of a harmless drunk will just decide he's a really annoying jerk. You can't go over his house to seek a resolution armed. That used to be a part of the law, that you could arm yourself and go seek a peaceful resolution. Well, it never became an issue in court except when the peaceful part failed and somebody was wounded or dead. That part's not in there anymore. There's actually a specific limitation that you can't carry a gun with you and provoke the fight. And then when the guy comes at you, shoot him and say, you know, I acted in self-defense. Unless, while you may have provoked it, you then abandon the provocation, make that clear to the person, and you try to remove yourself from the situation, but they pursue you. That can be a different situation. All of this is dependent upon the facts. And I think what I would say to the gun owner is, if you feel the need to have that gun, then your need should be confined to protecting yourself and your family and your property. And it should not become a method of offensively trying to solve a situation or resolve a dispute.